Uh, so we will be seeing the next topic, that is tasks, processes, and threats. We will see how are they different from each other. In the operating system context, a task is defined as a program in execution and the related information maintained by the operating system for the program. So in other words, as I said earlier, task is nothing but a process only. So task is also known as job in the operating system context. So task or process or job, all the three are one and the same. A program or part of it in execution is called a process. So program which is under execution, we call it as process. It could also be called as task, or it could also be called as job. Now, the terms task, job, and process refer to the same entity in the operating system context, and most often they are used interchangeably. So they'll be used here and there frequently. A process requires various system resources like CPU for executing the process, memory for storing the code corresponding to the process, and associated variables, IO devices for information exchange. So process requires all of them. It could be CPU, memory or variables or IO device. So process requires all these resources to run. Now let's see the next slide. The structure of a process, how exactly the process looks like. So the concept of process leads to concurrent execution of tasks and thereby the efficient utilization of the CPU and other system resources. So this concept of process enable us to work with concurrent execution. So several tasks executing concurrently by the processor. So it keeps switching among the processors. So the concurrent execution can be achieved by sharing the CPU among the processors. So all the processors uh, will get its own time slots uh, by the CPU. Now, exactly the process, how it looks like. This is a structure. It has got a stack pointer. It has got some working register for itself, dedicated registers, status registers it has got, and program counter. And what is this program counter? It is pointing to the code memory corresponding to the process. All of you have come across. So any process will contain all these data structure. Let's go to the next slide. A process mimics a processor in properties and holds a set of registers, process status, pointer to point to the next executable instruction of the process, a stack for holding the local variables associated with the process, and the code corresponding to the process. So, in short, a process is similar to the processor because it too even process has got all the status register, program counter register, variables, stack. So all these things are there for every process, but it will be in a limited size. But all these resources are available for a small unit of process. So a process which inherits all the properties of the CPU can be considered as a virtual processor. So we can tell that process is a virtual processor, awaiting its turn to have its properties switched into the physical processor. So it will be waiting to switch between the physical. As soon as the process gets its turn, it will get switched into the physical processor. When the process gets its turn, its registers and program counter gets mapped onto the physical registers of the CPU. So whatever this process is having, stack pointer, working register, status register. So all these things are dedicated for every process. When once it gets the CPU, so all these things will get mapped onto the CPU, stack pointer register, working register, status register, program counter register. So that is what it tells. When the process gets its turn, its registers and the program counter register becomes mapped to the physical registers of the CPU. Now let's go to the next slide. Now, the memory organization of a processes. The memory occupied by the processors is segregated into three regions. So, what are they? Stack memory, data memory, and the code memory. So, you're seeing this is stack, data, and code. So, stack can grow upward or downwards, and you have a data memory and you have a code memory. All these things are also part of every process, but this it will be in the limited size. Now, let's go to the next uh, topic, process states and state transition. The creation of a process to its termination is not a single step operation. So it involves so many intermediate steps. So the process traverses through a series of states. So it is not that it is in one stage it is created and it is terminated. It actually traverses through a series of states during its transitions from the newly created state to the terminated state. So since its inception till the final termination, it just traverses through various states. The cycle through which a process changes its state from newly created to execution completed is known as process life cycle. So the cycle through which a process changes its state um, from the creation till its completion, we call it as process life cycle. The various states through which a process traverses through during a process life cycle indicates the current status of the process with respect to time and also provides information on what it is allowed to do next. So it always, for every state, will tell what is its current status and it provides information about the next state. So this is what it tells. So the entire process life cycle, it will tell its creation and what is the next state, and then it traverses in the same way and finally it will end. So this entire cycle is called as process life cycle. So now let's see in the form of a diagram. Yes, this diagram you people have already come across in same operating system subject, but here also we are using it for embedded systems. So initially it is in the created state and then it is moved on to the ready state. So in the ready state, there will be several processes. It is not just one process, there will be several processes. When once process one gets its turn, that is by the scheduler, it will go to the running state. Now, from the running state, there are two possibilities. Either it may, three possibilities. It may finish it at one stretch and it can complete the process, or it may come back to ready state. In what circumstances it will come back to the ready state? When it is preempted, that is, its time is over. Some duration is allocated for every process. If its time is over, then it will come back to ready state. Or if at all there are any interrupts, in that case also from the running state, the process will come to the ready state. Now from the ready state, going back to the running state, it is in the queue. Again, till it gets its turn, it has to be in the ready state. And once it gets its turn by the scheduler, it will move to the running state. So this is the second one. The first one is at one stage it got completed. A second one is switching between running to ready and back ready to running. Now let us see the third possibility. Now, whenever the running process requires any IO operations, then it has to switch to the blocked state. It will be switching from running state to the blocked state, or for waiting for some shared resources. In that situations, the processes will be switched over from running state to blocked state. Now, from the blocked state to the ready state, it cannot come back to running state directly. So this you have to have clarity. From the blocked state, it cannot directly come back to running state. Once again, it has to go back to ready state. Means when once the IO is completed, or once the shared resource is acquired by this process, it just switches to ready state. Now, the processes from the block state is in the ready state. Once again, till it gets its turn, it will be in the ready state. And once the scheduler allocates the time for the process, it will switch from ready state to the running state. So in this way, it just moves over. When everything is finished, it comes back to the complete state. So this is the entire process life cycle. Now let's see that, let's summarize it. So what is the first one? Create state. So the state at which a process is being created is called as create state. And there will be no resources allocated to this process. So only the process is created, but the resources will not be allocated in the created state. Now, what is ready state? Here, a process is incepted into the memory and waiting for the process time. Now, in the created state, process is created, like process ID, at what time it is created. No resources allocated. In the ready state, that entire process will be allocated a memory. So, and it will be waiting for its turn. And this is known as ready state. At this state, the process is placed in the ready list queue. They are waiting in the ready list queue. Now going to the next state, that is running state. The state wherein the source code instructions corresponding to the process being executed means it is running, the source code is running. So this is called as the running state. Now let's go to the next state, that is wait state or the block state. So this we discussed in a diagram. So this one, wait state or the block state. It refers to a state where a running process is temporarily suspended from execution and it does not have any intermediate access to resources. It will not get an immediate access to the resources. And the block state might have been invoked by various conditions. So in then maybe several situations wherein the process enters into the block state, like the process enters a wait state for an event to occur, like waiting for some IO input, like keyboard input, or waiting for some shared resources. So during these type of situations, the process from the running state, it goes to the wait state. That is, it could be an input output operations, like keyboard input, or the shared resources like semaphores or mutex. So coming to the last state, that is complete state where the process completes its execution. So the transition of a process from one state to another state is known as state transition. When a process changes its state from ready to running, or from running to block, or terminated, or from block to running, the CPU allocation for the process may also keep changing. So here the time allocated for that process keeps changing depending on the state to which it is there. So this is about the complete life cycle of the process.